I'm caught up with the show. I'm caught up with Doctor Who. After like 2 years, I'm caught up with Doctor Who. Hello everyone, I'm PapaKenn, and welcome to episode 98 of Discovering Doctor Who. And as I said in the intro, I'm finally caught up with the show. I'm finally caught up. Just a little over a week before the 9th series premieres. Oh my god. But I can talk about that more later. For now, let's get into talking about Last Christmas, the most recent, or rather the last Christmas special in my journey to getting caught up with the show. And as always, let's start out with some of my favorite parts of the episode, starting with Santa Claus and the Elves. Now, as you noticed at the end of my previous review, Nick Frost was like my last favorite part. Like Santa Claus, Nick Frost is Santa Claus, which, as many of you pointed out, and I definitely got this as well, is like, you good old Saint Nick, and I don't know, just the name, and basically Nick Frost was made to play this role. Like, it was his destiny. And as far as the elves go, I know one of them, Dan Starkey, he's the person that, well, not just voices, but he plays Strax, and it translated really well over to his elf character here. Just Santa Claus and the elves is like, whenever they were on screen, it was guaranteed to be hilarious, or at least, funny to some degree. And in my opinion, in a Christmas special, you need to have a good amount of humor, a good amount of funness to it, and they definitely brought that in spades with these characters. I mean, with Santa Claus, obviously, but the elves just, the comedy, the delivery, and the comedic timing from them was just perfect. It was absolutely well done, and I believe Dan Starkey played Ian, the elf, I believe. And yeah, just between him and the other elf, who I actually don't remember who that was, but yeah, it was just such a good time. It was so very, very well done, and I'm so happy that, even though I haven't gotten to see anything from Dan Starkey since the first episode of Series 8, which was when he played Strax in Deep Breath, that he got to be, basically an end, or he got to help out with the end of the series as well with the Christmas special. That was just a lot of fun. And, well, even beyond that, just the way that Santa Claus and the elves tied into the story of this episode itself, and the way they were just, it was really well done. It was really good writing. And I just really, really liked the way they were utilized throughout this episode. So yeah, for number one, well, the first favorite part of the episode, Santa Claus and the Elves. Now moving on to my second favorite part of this episode, that would be the dreams within dreams. Just very, if you watch the reaction episode, very Inception of Moffat. Like, basically when Moffat was writing this episode, he had to have been inspired by, Inception to some degree. I don't know if the dream crabs are something from like classic Who or not, and if so, they might have done something similar, but not to this degree. Not not to the degree that this episode obviously did it. And just, I love the way they constructed it. It was admittedly a little bit annoying, not too much, but just a little bit annoying at first, just because we see the dream crabs attack them, but then everything is fine, when Santa Claus appears, which, it annoyed me at first. I was just kind of like, what happened to the crabs? Well, what's going on? Did the explosion knock them off? I'm really confused here. But obviously that was, misleading, and it was, just kind of leading up to what happens later. But yeah, I really like the way they stack those up, and the way that apparently when you're in the dream state with the crabs, you know, that the dreams become intertwined between different people, and that's how obviously the Doctor was able to save Clara from her dream where she was living a seemingly perfect life with Danny, who, you know, obviously is dead, but yeah, I just really like that. It admittedly, it came very close to being a bit too much. But the way that they pulled off the last little twist, in my opinion, worked really well. Had they gone anywhere beyond that, or if they had added any more of these in-between dream sequences, like in the middle of the episode, it would have been way too much, it would have been overkill, but just something about the way it was constructed in this episode felt, it was just on the verge of being annoying and too much, but they handled it really well. Really well. I apologize, I just woke up and I can't pronounce properly apparently. But yeah, I just, the way they did that on the Dreams Within Dreams, you know, going Inception on us was just really well done, and I really, really enjoyed it. And it actually, even with the tangerine at the end, I don't know, it even had that ending of Inception in that regard. My apologies to anyone that hasn't seen Inception, but it's been out for a while, so, you know, just cover your ears for the next 10 seconds or so. But yeah, just like the tangerine being there at the end, like it reminded me a lot of the ending of Inception where there's the top, and, you know, as we're waiting for the credits to roll, it's like, you know, it kind of topples, but it doesn't, and so it's just kind of like, are they still in a dream, or are they not, or does Santa Claus actually exist in, you know, the Doctor Who universe? But yeah, okay, so moving on from there, my third favorite part of Last Christmas was Danny, or I guess more specifically Dream Danny. First of all, just because of how happy and serene the scenes were, well, for the most part with Danny, when Clara was able to be alone with Dream Danny. Not so much the kind of nightmarish Clara seeing the chalkboards and erasing and you're going to die. It's like, that was crazy and really cool. But we got to see something that we didn't get to see much, or really almost at all, during the regular portion of the season, and that was just a happy, lovely scene with Clara and Danny. Like, we got to see a lot of them bickering, we got to see a lot of them, you know, fighting or, you know, talking about the Doctor, but not just a scene where they get to be happy, where they get to be a couple and not have to worry about stuff. Just, I really like the way that was done, and I wish more of that had occurred throughout the rest of the series. That's something I'm actually going to touch on a little bit more in the upcoming Series 8 recaps, so, you know, I won't talk too much more about that, but yes, as far as Dream Danny goes, I like the way he was utilized, I liked what he represented, and the fact that Danny, again, I don't know if it was just a mental construct of Clara's, or maybe it was sort of the spirit of Danny coming through, and, you know, talking with the Doctor and Clara. I really like the way that worked. I really, really did. But okay, moving on to my fourth favorite part of the episode, that would be the scientists. One of which was played by I should have written down the name, but it was a son of one of the classic Doctors. I believe it was the son of the second Doctor, or one of the sons of the second Doctor. And just all of those different characters, the mystery surrounding what's going on. I had some questions, I had some thoughts at first when we do see the people that already have the crabs on their faces getting up and like what they were wearing. I was just kind of like, well, it looks like they're wearing almost the exact same clothes. But then obviously, you know, if they had been I basically misdirected myself, because I'm thinking, oh, well, you know, they're all on this mission together, so that probably makes sense that they would be wearing very similar clothes. But just the way it all ended up working out, especially in the final scenes with the characters, when they finally do wake up from their dreams, and the dream crabs are knocked off of them, I love the way that sort of resolved itself. It really sucked that the the character played by, one of the doctors, or one of the classic doctor's sons, he just died. That was unfortunate. I basically kind of saw it coming to a degree, but other than him, who had the unfortunate end, I really like the way it wrapped up for the other characters. One of which was, she was an older lady, and we find out that she's been wheelchair bound this entire time. So, in fact, that dream that she was living, while terrifying, trying to avoid the dream crabs, or the infected people that had the dream crabs, which was herself. Anyway, I'm overthinking things. It was, it basically was a dream. She was able to get up and walk around. She was able to do more than, just be a grandma bound to her wheelchair. I found that to be really nice. A little bit sad, but at the same time, she got to dream this very vivid dream of her life, not in the wheelchair, which I thought was kind of beautiful in a way. And then Shona, or was it Shauna? I'm gonna go with Shona. When she woke up and we see the list of, her Christmas list of wanting to watch different movies, like, the Alien movie, and Forgive Dan, whoever Dan is, and a bunch of other things. Apologize for the noise from the cats. But yeah, in a way, it makes me wonder if we might see her again in the future. Part of me, honestly, kind of wishes and hopes that we might see her again, maybe as a companion, potentially. She had a very quirky, very interesting personality that I think would probably be a breath of fresh air for some of the fans of the show, especially for the people that are sick and tired of Clara whenever her time does come to leave. But yeah, I do wonder whether or not we might see her again. I think that would be pretty interesting. But moving on from there, yes, as I said earlier, the scientists, the different characters, I enjoyed them, and just the different ways that their stories ended, basically, throughout this episode. Now, moving on to my fifth favorite part of this episode, the dream crabs themselves. And I mean, this one's pretty simple, but they even referred to, one of the reasons I like it so much, they basically look like face huggers from the Alien movies. Which I'm going to touch on that more in a little bit, don't worry. But it is the dream crabs and the way they work and the way they just seem to infiltrate everything in this episode. It really worked, and they're a cleverly designed creature. Again, I don't know if they might be a creature from the classic era of Doctor Who or not. But regardless, the way they're utilized and the way that they induce, this Inception-like episode of events just was amazing. It was really, really, it was just really well done, in my opinion. I mean, again, regardless of whether the dream crabs are classic or not, the way they were written in this episode, amazing, just amazingly done. And honestly, pretty scary at times. It's like, they weren't always scary. It's like, to me, they kind of looked like the, what's it called? The Wall Master or something like that from the Legend of Zelda video games. Basically, this big hand in certain dungeons that'll come down and grab you and take you back to the beginning. Not the scariest of enemies, but certainly one of the most annoying. But yeah, the crabs just, to me, they basically looked like these alien hands and reminded me a lot of that. So I found that reference to be, or not exactly a reference, but that similarity in my mind to be very interesting, to say the least. Okay, now my sixth and final favorite part of Last Christmas is the Doctor and Clara. And I just, there have been issues with the writing as far as their relationship goes. There's been issues with the writing with each character, just to different degrees throughout, definitely throughout Series 8. But this episode just, it resolves the lies that were told, at the end of regular Series 8. And I don't know, I feel like this episode really brought out the friendship between the two, the love between the two that is definitely there, but it's like, it's the kind of love that you have for really close friends, or like, friends that you consider family in the end. I'm paraphrasing here, but there's one segment where the Doctor asks if anyone ever measured up to Danny, and Clara said, I believe it was, I had many suitors, but no one ever came close except for one guy, and he was impossible. Obviously, referring to the Doctor there. Now, I mean, you could refer to it as like there being romantic love there, I guess, especially back when the Doctor was Matt Smith, and she was obviously romantically interested. But I honestly do believe that the love there, the love referred to there, is that love for someone that you love them no matter what. They are your friend, they're your family, regardless of whether or not there was ever any romantic interest there. Just there's that respect, and again, just that love there that it can't be broken, even over even though it wasn't real. 62 years of time separated. I found that to be really cool, and again, really beautiful in a way, that they were able to portray their friendship, portray their companionship in that manner, and it made me really, really happy. It really did. Now I'll touch on certain aspects of that a little bit more coming up, but for now it is time to get into my annoyances of the episode. Now, my first annoyance is that, and this part just really bugs me. It really came to me after the episode was over. But, okay, if these dream crabs are seemingly kind of everywhere, and apparently one of them actually did succeed in feeding off of one of the scientists, again, the one played by one of the sons of the classic Doctor, then that means that dream crabs are still out there. And I can only assume that there's more of them than just the 6 that clamped on to, the 4 scientists, or the 4 people, rather, the Doctor and Clara. So, where are the rest of these things? It's like, are more of them just around and we're not worried about them too much? When a dream crab successfully feeds off of a person, like it did with the one scientist, does it not, spread around and continue distributing its eggs? I don't know. But yeah, I don't know, that just continues to bug me, and would not, especially, a little kid that comes in to check on his grandma, and, she had seemingly just dozed off. Would no one ask what, this pile of ashes on the floor? And I do forgive, since we find out that, time goes faster in a dream state. So, there is a chance that no one would have seen them, with these big crabs on their faces. It's like, that is a possibility, at least. But you're telling me that no one saw, like, the only one that did see one of the crabs, or the only person that really seemed to freak out from one of the crabs was, I'm forgetting her name, another one of the scientists, but she wakes up in her bed and she sees, the ashes or the remains of the dream crab in her bed, and she freaks out. But it seems like no one else really does. And I don't know, that just seemed really weird, really, really strange to me, that no one really, very few people seem to notice, these remains. But again, that's just me. Moving on from there, my second annoyance, and this one, the way it worked out, I understand why they did it, but would we see Clara 62 years later as an old woman? That really would have been a wonderful end for Clara. That would have been a wonderful way to resolve it. It's like, it would have been probably one of the happiest endings that I can imagine for any of the companions so far, with the exception of maybe Martha, who left on her own terms. But yeah, the part of me actually, despite the fact that I really do like Clara, I really feel that that ending would have been just an excellent way for her to go out. But obviously they did it that way with, the extra dream sequence, because at that point Jenna Coleman didn't know whether or not she was going to be returning for the next series, or if she wanted to return for the next series. Now obviously she did, or she decided to, so that's why they went with the extra, and we get to see young Clara again. But at the same time, this opens up a door for... I don't know how they're going to end her time with the Doctor. I don't know what's going to happen. Seemingly, the only way... Seemingly the only way they might be able to is, unfortunately, they might end up killing her off, which honestly would really annoy me. It really would. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what Series 9 will bring us as far as that goes. Whether or not it's most likely going to be Jenna Coleman's final series. When her final episode will be, I don't know, but I'm interested and worried to see what will result in her final leaving. So yeah, hopefully, and I don't think they're going to be able to top that, really. I'm not sure that they're going to be able to top, the Doctor meeting Clara 62 years later after she's lived her full life. I am again interested and yet worried to see what's going to come of that. Now, as always, if you have any of your own favorite parts of the episode, any of your own annoyances, issues with the episode, please do let me know in the comments down below. But before you say anything negative, say something nice. Say something nice, or you won't live to complain. That was a little bit off. I feel I still haven't woken up yet. I haven't had my coffee yet, so obviously I'm getting quotes misquoted. Yes. But anyway, moving on from there, it's time for my track of the episode. And luckily enough, the soundtrack for this episode was apparently bundled in with the rest of Series 8, as far as what it says on Wikipedia. So I was able to find the soundtrack and gave it a listen, and there were... No, as always, it's like, the tracks, or the music that goes along with the episodes of Doctor Who, they're pretty much always well done, well constructed, but not necessarily songs you can just listen to whenever you feel like it. It's like, they make good background music for what's going on in the episode, but otherwise, not exactly something you listen to while driving your car. There were, however, a few tracks from this episode that definitely caught my ear. I was going to say caught my eye, but you can't see them. But yeah, it's like, of the tracks that, definitely interested me more than others in this episode, the one that stood out the most, in my opinion, was called A Reunion. And it's the track that plays through, the reunion of the Doctor and Clara when we're in the scene where she, it is seemingly 62 years after the last time they actually met. And it's a beautiful and really well done piece, and it felt probably... It wasn't the most intense, which is what I usually really, really like in Doctor Who music, but it felt the most appropriate for this episode, I guess you might say. It definitely felt the strongest to me. But yeah, it was really well done, and just really felt like it fit the Christmas spirit of the episode overall. Now, I know there was another track that, off the top of my head, I can't remember what the name is, but apparently it's one that's been featured throughout Doctor Who, or it's like throughout New Who, in different portions throughout the Christmas episodes, and it's... well, you all know what it is. It's the one that actually got me a copyright, well, not a copyright strike, thankfully, but a copyright flag in the reaction video. And unfortunately did end up in it not being viewable in certain countries. But yeah, it's the one that Shona is listening to while going into the infected area, going into the infirmary. And yeah, it was a really catchy song, but I mean, overall, since it's one that's kind of been used throughout the different Christmas episodes, I didn't really feel that it was appropriate, I guess is the word, or I didn't feel like it would be right to use it as the track of this episode. So yeah. Alright, now obviously if you have any other tracks that you like from this episode, you can check out the track names on Wikipedia, and also, I'm sure that since I can't remember the name of the song, that the band did from the 70s. Some of you all will let me know that and remind me numerous times in the comments, so thank you. Seriously, because I have forgotten. Anyway, but moving on from there, it is time for my quote of the episode, and this episode had so many good quotes. It had so very many good lines. One that came very close to being the quote of the episode, and I didn't actually write this one down, so it's going to be paraphrased for the most part, but it's when Danny, or when the Doctor is talking to Danny, and the Doctor mentions that he saved the world, that Danny died saving the world, and the quote was Danny's line, where he said, he died saving Clara. Excuse me, he died saving Clara. The rest of the world just got lucky. And I don't know, it's like, I know people have issues with the relationship with Danny and Clara. I've had some issues here or there as well, but just, I really like that line. Like, that's the kind of line that, you know, a hero of a story says, or a hero of one of the, you know, older style stories, I suppose. Yeah, I really like that. But the actual quote of the episode came from the Doctor, and it was probably one of the funniest moments in the entire episode, among many, many very funny moments. But, it's when they were discussing the topic of facehuggers came up, and the Doctor was just curious what in the world is going on. And, the Doctor basically says, in response to finding out that there's a movie called Alien, there's a horror movie called Alien? That's really offensive. No wonder everyone keeps invading you. That just, it works so well. And as some of the other people some of you all in the comments mentioned, apparently, Hartnell? Was it Hartnell, or was it one of the other Doctors? I can't remember exactly who, but one of the classic Doctors was in the Alien movie. And the fact that not only does the Alien movie exist within the Doctor Who universe, but also one of the previous Doctors played a character in Alien, I find that really cool and just mind-boggling, honestly. I didn't know that there was actually that connection. So just like, yeah, the hilarity, in my opinion, of the quote combined with just that sort of mind-bending idea or the mind-bending fact that actually occurred. Yeah, it was really cool, and it definitely made it helped it be the quote of the episode for me. Again, I apologize for being kind of scatterbrained. Again, I just woke up, and this is, it's hard to keep my thoughts straight. But it's time to finish up this episode and get into my overall thoughts. And much like last time, any of you that saw my reaction know my thoughts on this episode. It is easily one of my absolute favorite Christmas specials that this show has done so far. Now, A Christmas Carol is, I think it's honestly tied between Last Christmas and A Christmas Carol as far as my personal enjoyment goes, as far as my personal love goes for these Christmas specials. I feel like Last Christmas kind of edges A Christmas Carol out just because Last Christmas is so fresh on my mind right now. Now, you know, one day if I go back and I kind of think about which of my favorite Christmas episodes, or, you know, what were my favorite Christmas episodes, then, you know, the list might be a little bit different. Last Christmas might be below A Christmas Carol, I don't know. But as it is right now, as of this recording, and so soon after watching the episode itself, I would have to say that Last Christmas is probably my favorite Doctor Who Christmas special. Again, for the time being. It was just really well done. I love the way it resolved those lies between the Doctor and Clara. I love the relationship that was portrayed between the Doctor and Clara. It's like, no, this was the two characters together, really well written, with some interesting side characters, you know, despite the fact I can't remember their names because no caffeine yet. But yeah, it was just such a well done episode, and the comedy was there. The comedy from, again, Santa Claus and the elves and different characters was just, it was really well done, well written, well timed and well delivered throughout the episode. And again, that's something I really love and enjoy from a good Christmas special is being able to make me laugh and being able to really draw me in. It's like this episode made me feel like it was the Christmas season, much like A Christmas Carol did. Did I watch A Christmas Carol around Christmas? I don't remember. Probably not. But again, still, it was really, really good. It was really, really good. It was a really good show. Yes. But alright, everyone, thank you very much for joining me for 98 episodes of Discovering Doctor Who so far. Now, what we have coming up will be the Series 8 recap, obviously. That will be coming out very soon. And we are basically caught up as far as getting to Series 9, or me getting ready for Series 9. But for episode 99, I'm thinking there might be a little something extra, a little something special that will be episode 99. What that is, well, I'm not going to say yet, because it's a secret. But excuse me, other than that, everyone, please do, if you haven't already checked in, you have until September 18th to put in your entries for the giveaway, the 1,000 subscriber giveaway here on the channel. I'll link to that down below. Ignore the super long video, just check out the description, go check that out. It's definitely worth your while, especially if you're a fan of art and if you live in Canada, the US, and Australia and would like some jerky. But yeah, that was, definitely do go check that out and go sign up if you haven't already. And also, make sure that you leave some Q&A, or basically make sure you leave some questions for an upcoming Q&A that will be taking place on the 1,000 subscriber giveaway video. At this time, I'm thinking I might try and do that as a live stream. Now, obviously, that won't be the best quality, but it is certainly a possibility at this time. And please do send in any questions you might have for me to answer on the Q&A. Now, it can be Doctor Who related, it can be related to the channel, it can be some questions, for me personally that you might like to ask. Now, I obviously, I have the choice whether or not I might answer certain questions, so, keep them within the bounds of reason. But at the same time, it's like, anything you might like to know, I will most likely be open to answering it. So yes, leave any questions you might have for the upcoming Q&A down below in the comments, and those will be answered on, again, the upcoming 1,000 subscriber giveaway video / potential live stream. But alright, I've been blathering on long enough. Everyone, thank you so much for joining me for this journey. It has been amazing, and it's definitely not over. It's nowhere close to being over yet. But yeah, I will see you next time for the Series 8 recap, and until then, everyone, Allons-y!